Hello there, I'm Richard Simons from R. Simons Electric Vehicles. And so for once, my Porsche Taycan, this dirt on this car is not just a wrap, it's actually filthy dirty. And that's because during the October half term, I completed nearly 1,200 miles during 6 days as part of a family holiday. Now, I've just added it up actually, and in total that cost me under £50 worth of electric or fuel to do that journey with my family in this car. So I want to tell you a little bit more about that trip, how I charged, why it's so cheap. Plus, there was some torrential rain and adverse weather, so just a little bit more about the Porsche Taycan, including driving through some very flooded roads. How did it do? About to tell you. So it's half term and pretty much at the last minute we booked a few nights away. 5 nights in the end actually. During the October half term, always a busy time of course, so we didn't have a great deal of choice available, but nonetheless a few chance to get away. And in autumn I love kind of autumn breaks, woodlands and places like that, and I've never really spent much time in the Lake District, so we chose to go somewhere in or around the Lake District as a family holiday. So myself, my wife, my 12-year-old daughter and our small dog Daniel. And so the first thing I always do is when booking accommodation, when I'm driving an electric car, is if you use something like booking.com and other apps and websites are available, most of them have a filter now, so you can actually filter hotels that have electric car charging. So that's what I usually do, obviously so that I can charge my electric car, but I also want to, you know, say well done and thanks to hotels that have taken the effort to do that. And so I think you should do the same, and if you're going to stay somewhere, always try and book somewhere with charging. And that always makes life easier, especially like on this trip where we've got travelling to do and we're not ones to sit around and not do much and relax by a poolside. We like to get out there and see as much as we can whenever we're away, wherever we are. So the first Sunday in the October half term, all good in the car. Now I know, you know, from previous videos you've seen that I'm a big fan of the Porsche for covering long distances. It's very comfortable, and so we, you know, it's a great car for it. The space in the back's good and the boot space is fine for all our luggage. So October half term, jumped in the car and headed off after booking a hotel. And that was a straightforward journey really. It's October half term is always busier, so you do sort of think, well, maybe charging and that the charging stations could be busier. So I tend to avoid sites which just have 2 chargers and go for multi-bay sites, but I just played it by as we went along. And actually what we did, by the time we got to near Banbury, heading from where we live in Bournemouth all the way up to Lake District, which is about nearly 300 miles, by the time we got to Banbury we needed a wee and we wanted a coffee, so we made a quick stop at the Instavolt site there. I had to pull up and see it was surprisingly busy. All stalls were actually taken when we pulled up, but somebody was literally getting their car and pulling away. But that site at Instavolt Banbury is expanding and they will have more bays there soon. We didn't stop there for too long, and actually the charge there was a little bit slow to be honest, but whilst we got our Costa coffees, other coffees available, we topped it up a little bit and carried on our journey. And the motorways were heavy that day. Again, half terms, it's always busy on the UK roads trying to get anywhere. But then I made a quick stop at a new MFG site up near Macclesfield, I think it is. Not really that far from our destination, actually a bit further north than that I think. But a multi-bay MFG site which works seamlessly alongside a BP petrol station, pull in, contactless payment. Topped up the car for literally I think it's 5 minutes whilst we had a quick loo break, and then arrived at our hotel, which in the end was just outside of Lancaster. Nice little location, so it's just near the M6 motorway if you're getting about, on the Lake District, plus you've got the Forest of Bowland and you've got some other areas you can explore from there. So we got there, and indeed there's 2 7-kilowatt chargers which are free to use. So usually in hotels the destination chargers, as we would call these, are free to use. They're sort of speed like you'd have at home. This was a 7-kilowatt, same as my home one, so the car can charge easily on a charge overnight. It's one of the first places I've seen where you have to go and get tokens from reception, but they're just free. They just give you some tokens so that only people staying at the hotel can use the charger. So you need a Type 2 to Type 2 cable for that. And then we got there fairly low charge, and obviously it charged overnight, so the next day we were ready to do some exploring, so we drove up into the Lake District, around the Lake District, and as ever just covered tons of miles. Such a beautiful part of the country, the Lake District. So, you know, it is quite an away from London, so if people are visiting the UK they tend to go to London of course naturally, but it's a really worthwhile area to visit. And just beautiful, especially in autumn when you've got the trees are changing colour and leaves are falling. The weather forecast wasn't brilliant, there's a bit of rain, but that's quite common in the Lake District, but just a beautiful, beautiful place. And we were finding that on that day we covered about 160 miles, get back to the hotel in the afternoon, again just charge the car overnight. So each night we knew we could drive around and just recharge overnight quite happily. And actually when you're touring areas like in the Lake District, and you're basically not on motorways, covering 150 to 200 miles a day is a pretty full day of driving. Not much of a relaxing holiday, some would say, but again, like I say, we always love to just see as much as we can. And seeing the Lake District from a Porsche Taycan was quite something. Day 2 we did something similar. We visited the Forest of Bowland, found a place called Moorcock which made us giggle, and then found some beautiful roads travelling down from there. I mean, and this is where the Porsche Taycan really comes into its own. It is a really comfortable motorway cruiser. The ride comfort's fantastic, but then you get onto some country roads in the Lake District and you can put it into sport mode and come around the corners, and it's great fun. Obviously I'm not pushing too hard, I've got family in the car, but it is a chance to just show the kind of two sides of this car. Fantastic cruiser for going distance up there, and then going around some of the most beautiful scenery in the UK. It's fantastic. Now, I did a couple of days of touring, but then what was kind of interesting on the, I think it was the 4th day, there was just so much rain, even for the UK in autumn, even for the Lake District, that the rivers were starting to burst their banks, and it was on the news and everything like that, that people were, there was a lot of flooding in the Lake District, and Cockermouth burst its rivers, and various other rivers that flow down into the lakes were bursting. And in fact, we nearly got ourselves caught out. We were in Coniston at a cafe, and the lake had burst its banks, and this is the worst flooding they'd seen since 2009. And we're like, okay. And in fact, to the point where we kind of had to evacuate, really. I went one way, road was closed, another road was closed, and so there's only really one road out. Already by now, water's running down fields and out of rivers and across the roads, and how well does a Porsche Taycan manage flooded Lake District? Well, it did pretty good, actually. What you can do with this Porsche, this one's got the air suspension, you can lift it up, and there was one road out in the end, which even then they were putting the road closed signs as people were going through it, and there was a stuck car. But I had no choice really but to go through some fairly deep water in the Taycan. And what's good with electric cars is that they don't have an air intake. They can actually handle some fairly flooded roads. You don't want to be submerged in water. Don't get me wrong, you don't want to go through deep water deliberately, but you could see the exit from this road. I could see how deep this flood was, and it wasn't too bad. So I cautiously, albeit a little bit nervously, did drive through some fairly deep water, and just kept a bow away so that you wouldn't have anything submerged in water for long, and popped out the other side. We had to drive past some poor people pushing a Ford Fiesta which had taken water in and had broken down. So Porsche Taycan through flooded rivers and roads, it did it remarkably well. So yeah, I was really surprised. We really gave this car real world life, going for walks, being muddy, getting back in it, and it was fantastic. There was only one day where we actually charged whilst we were out and about, and that's because we stopped in a place called Keswick, and in Keswick there was a car park with some chargers, and we literally popped it on charge there to top up a little bit whilst we had some lunch. So quick and easy, 40 minutes, 45 minutes we were, and that topped it up a little bit there, actually. In fact, that topped it up full. And then we did get a bit of time just in the hotel by the pool and all that sort of stuff. I won't go into too much detail, but we did a lot of miles each day. Even went down and saw the Blackpool illuminations one evening. Massive traffic jam for hours. Was really what it was about. Good to see the lights at Blackpool, but it was a big long traffic jam. However, didn't burn any fuel, didn't really cost me any money. And in fact, electric cars, when they're sat in traffic for ages, are very efficient like that. They don't really use energy sitting doing nothing other than just running a bit of ventilation and your radio and such like. And then the last day, Friday in the October half term, we had to get back for that night, so we again fully charged for the morning, as we were each night. Travelled down. I was planning to stop at a BP Pulse in Abingdon, all the way from Lake District down to Abingdon, so well over 200 miles. But then I saw on the app that BP Pulse was out of action, so I made a slightly earlier stop at an Instavolt in Abingdon, just for, again, a couple of minutes, because I know I wanted to get down to Tot Hill services, where there's a much faster Shell recharge there. It's a really good charge out on the A34. But I was, you know, getting a bit thin on range by then. Again, on that journey, lots of traffic, lots of rain, not efficiency run, you know, just trying to get back with the family. So I did a quick splash at Instavolt, grabbed a Costa, and then went down to the Shell Rapids 175 kilowatts on the A34, where this topped up nicely, just enough to get home. So again, a few minutes of charging, not too much money, and we got home where I can, of course, charge at home. And so that whole route, interestingly, was A34, M40, M6, and on that route, you know, there was actually no really rapid chargers. Of course, the Porsche Taycan, this car, as I've shown before, charges incredibly fast. You can take 270 kilowatts, but none of those chargers were of that speed. And it would be good to see some up the M6 and around Birmingham, you know, 350 kilowatt chargers, so that we can take everything we can. But nonetheless, it didn't take too long. It takes everything a charger can provide, and it's been a fantastic car for such a journey. You know from previous videos, I've covered 600 miles in one day in this car, and it's just a really comfortable car for that. I find the seats great. Even in the back, the seats are comfortable. My daughter's asleep, the dog's asleep. Supreme ride comfort, but I really enjoyed the way it had a little bit of extra fun on some of those country roads. And then it just handled all of that with ease. The only thing I would say is in the Lake District, lots of kind of narrow roads, and it felt its width on those occasions. You know, a narrower car would have been good for that. But other than that, this Porsche Taycan has performed on that journey beautifully. And the total cost of all of that, including recharging the car at home, I don't want to eliminate that, has come to just under £50, you know, so 1,150 miles for under £50, and without any time out. We didn't have time where we were sat waiting for the car. The stops we made were very brief stops to literally have a toilet and grab a coffee. The traffic was heavy and on the long journeys there and coming back, so we had to stop anyway for toilet breaks and lunch and such like. So you know, that was a very easy journey, covered a lot of miles. So even in a car like this, a good performance car, it doesn't have to be expensive, does it? Even, you know, I could have taken a Tesla. I've got a few free supercharging miles on my Tesla account, but again, I kind of enjoy driving not a Tesla to see how easy it is and what the costs of that are if you don't have the luxury of free Tesla supercharging. So the answer to that is easy. There's a couple of key things though: book hotels with chargers on site, and then just make your stops as minimal as they need to be. You know, don't sit there and charge any more than you need to, especially in October half terms when there's lots of cars on the road. You really only need quick top up. So it depends on your car and what you can charge at, but those stops were not at super fast chargers that would have made it even quicker if we could have made it quicker. But in reality, with a family, we just couldn't be any quicker if we'd have tried. So there we are, my little trip with my family in a Porsche Taycan 4S, bigger battery, the performance battery, 92 kilowatt hours, and the car was faultlessly brilliant actually. You know, there's a couple of things you can fault a Taycan for, but not much. It's quite wide for some of the UK roads. And my driver's seat, can you see that? That started squeaking, so I need to get that sorted out. That's already booked in with Porsche, but other than that, a fantastic car. Really enjoyed it, really enjoyed our trip. And if you can visit the Lake District in the UK anytime, I highly recommend it. So I hope that's a vaguely interesting video. As ever, thanks for watching, really appreciate that. We're very busy at work at the moment, but we'll try and make more videos as we can. So do stay tuned, stay subscribed, hit the like button if you like this, and let me know in the comments below what you think about driving a Porsche Taycan through some slightly deep water, and what are some of the best driving roads in the UK you've driven. I would like to know that, because I really enjoyed some of those roads, and I'd like to incorporate more fantastic driving roads in future videos, because what I'm trying to do with a lot of this is show that you can drive an electric car, it can be a family car, it doesn't have to be difficult, and it certainly doesn't have to be boring. It can be great fun as well, you know. So it is the way forward. Embrace it. It's fantastic. Been driving electric cars for 6 years, and I think they're brilliant. Still love them. More chargers, always good, but they're on their way. They're coming. People install them every day. Anyway, let me wrap it up for now. Thank you for watching. It's an over out from me, and speak to you soon. Hey everyone, thanks for watching our videos. If you like our content and want to see more, don't forget to not only subscribe, but also hit the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss any new videos as they're uploaded. Plus, we're also on Instagram. Just look up R Simons or RSEV. us on Facebook and Twitter. So lots of news, stories and things as we go on each one of those channels.